under fire for alleged censorship of conservative viewpoints.
A great many Americans who I think are deeply concerned that Facebook and other tech companies are engaged in a pervasive pattern of bias and political censorship.
I understand where that concern is coming from because Facebook and the tech industry are located in Silicon Valley, which is an extremely left-leaning place.
Now the Trump 2020 campaign and the RNC are taking their fight against censorship straight to the source. They're sending a letter right now as they're on air to both Facebook and to Twitter.
All right, here with more, our Trump 2020 campaign manager, Brad Parscale, and RNC chairperson, Ronna McDaniel. Ronna, welcome, guys. First time we're seeing you, Brad,
yes.
The man behind the legend.
I stay in my den.
Since he became campaign manager.
Right, but also I know what you did behind the scenes. A lot of people credit you with a remarkable, stunning victory.
You were
by the
digital director during the 2016 campaign.
Yes. Ronna, first off, your reaction to that. That's a legitimate fear that the right has, isn't it?
It's a legitimate fear. Brad and I hear it all the time as we're traveling the country. People are very concerned that conservative voices are going to be suppressed on social media. Of course, many of their users are conservatives. And so Brad and I feel preemptively we have to get out ahead of this, talk to Facebook, talk to Twitter, ask them for transparency. Let us know what you're going to do to make sure that every voice has a say on these social media platforms, especially before this critical midterm.
So, Brad, right now, while you're sitting on the curvy couch, this letter is being sent to Twitter and to Facebook. Yes. What does it say?
Well, I mean, the main thing about the letter is we've had so much incoming about, Diamond and Silk being blocked, other conservative voices. Every day I receive thousands of messages saying I'm being shadow banned. And what we want to do in this letter is to make sure that we understand what's happening. We want to ask them for transparency. I think the public deserves that transparency. And we need to know that conservative voices have a chance to get their message out. And this is a big problem. I mean,
is it happening already?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We saw it with Diamond and Silk. You saw Mark Zuckerberg have to talk about that in front of Congress. But we've run into campaigns who said, I've launched. One in Michigan, he said, I launched and I got shut down. We need to make sure that conservative ideas and principles are allowed on these social media platforms. And there's not a thought police coming from Silicon Valley.
And I'm glad you mentioned the thought police because, Facebook, when Mark Zuckerberg was in the hot seat, he was talking about, well, we're hiring all these people and we're going to use a different metric to figure out whether something's hate speech or whether it's inappropriate. But they're also using, in your estimation, liberal organizations as the fact checkers, and that does not help your side.
Yeah, I mean, they've done these algorithm changes. Now they're talking about, and let's be very honest, they live in a liberal bubble in Northern California, and this is where these people are doing this. The companies, the employees, we saw this in the 2016 campaign where they were manually manipulating the trends. We've seen this with the algorithm changes. We've seen reductions in Trump's reach on the platform, 25, 30, even 40% reach decrease. These things, and I want to make sure they're done evenly.
Fairly.
Fairly. And I think there's a transparent layer that can be put on there where the public can know what it is. Why can't we know why people are being banned? Why can't we see? Why can't there be a special area of the website?
People don't understand an algorithm, but they could understand why they took something down.
Yes, and that's important.
Brad, this is your first interview since you were named the campaign manager for 2020. You did such a great job in 2016. You helped get the president elected, so now he wants you to be the campaign manager. What can we expect? It's hard to believe we're already talking about this because it feels like the election was yesterday. But what can we expect for 2020?
Well, I think right now the main purpose for us to do this is the 2018 midterms. And we need to be there to provide tools and help these campaigns. That might be 20 volunteers in Kansas. That might be some, helping make sure conservative voices can be heard online. Right now, the biggest focus I have is to keep the House for the and to get the Senate for the president, and then to keep a majority.
James Clapper made news yesterday by suddenly deciding, he said, the Russians threw the election for the President of the United States. This is Director of National Intelligence. It's personal for you, and is it accurate in your mind?
Oh, it's so false, and James Clapper is trying to cover himself right now because he's in the hot seat. Listen, I ran Michigan. Hillary Clinton was not in our state. She did not bring a message to the voters of our state that resonated, and President Trump did. He talked about trade. He talked about jobs. He talked about wages. Look where our country is already under his leadership. He won this election because he cared about average working class families in this country. He's delivering, and Hillary Clinton was so out of touch. That's the only reason that she lost.
Well, I continue to think it's a joke. I think that these people take these reports from these liberal media that just make up stories. They have no idea, and there's no connection. Facebook execs came out there on Facebook and Twitter and put things out publicly and said there was no connection between any of these things. And there continues to be. This is just a witch hunt. I agree 100% with the president. We did everything in a legitimate way. Now, they just can't stand that we made 5.9 million ads on our site, and Hillary only made 66,000 ads.
And let me add,
they just don't understand how we did that, and they want to stop us from doing it in the future. And the only way to do that is to fight, in these
it's dangerous
unfair
for our
ways.
it is dangerous for our democracy for them to continue to delegitimize the voters
18
of this
months
country.
later.
They are delegitimizing what happened in November of 2016.
Yeah.
Millions of Americans came and voted for President Donald Trump, and it is dangerous for our democracy if they continue to push this narrative that Russia determined the fate of our election.
And Brad, on Election Day 2016, you saw all the online stuff. At what point did you realize, hey, wait a minute, he's going to win?
Yeah, I think it was a couple days before that, actually. I was actually in the studio, Steyerwall and other people, and I said, the early results are coming in. You could see the trends. And we could also see that the enthusiasm on their side was just not there. And their pollsters were just looking at that. And it was inaccurate. And for our data science, and we have one of the most, I think the Republican Party has one of probably the most elaborate and probably well-sophisticated data operations in history. We were able to see the information before. And I think that continues to lead us to smart decisions. And I think you're going to see that with holding the House.
You've got a big smile because you're paying for it.
Yes, I'll tell
She
you
does
what,
pay for it.
we
That's a
do
good
pay
part.
for it, but it is the best. And in Michigan, we had President Trump winning by 8,000 votes. 2 days before the election, he won by 10,700. That's how spot on it was.
And it's important because now the party is the party of Trump.
Okay.
All right. Ron and Brad, thanks so much for being with us this
Thanks
morning.
for
Thank you
having
very much.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.